Hello again. So today we are going to be looking at retelling with nonfiction text. So the story that I chose for today is Wilma Rudolph, A True Winner by Terry Lintner. And this is actually broken up into several different chapters. So we're going to just retell one chapter, which is actually a really important skill because a lot of times you'll be asked to retell the entire story, but then other times you'll be told just to retell a small section of the story. So this is a good skill to have. So the introduction and then the first chapter is Wilma's childhood, and that is where we are going to focus today. So let's see what we can find out about Miss Wilma Rudolph. Wilma Rudolph calmly walked to the starting line. "Wilma!" the crowd yelled. It was 1960. She was running in the Olympics. People were shouting Wilma's name because she was a fast runner. They didn't care that she was African American or poor. Here in Rome, Italy, Wilma was just another athlete, and she was a good one. It says here, people called Wilma Rudolph the fastest woman in the world. Wilma Rudolph won 3 gold medals at the 1960 Summer Olympics. That was amazing. Getting there at all was even more amazing. When Wilma was a child, her doctor said she would never walk. Wilma worked hard. If she failed at something, she worked harder. Being a top athlete was only one of her goals. She also worked to help others, and this is what made her a true winner. Wilma Rudolph was the first African American to win 3 gold medals at the Olympic Games. So as we know with nonfiction, there's lots and lots of facts and details, and a lot of times it's just too much for me to remember everything. So that's why it's really important that we focus in on the important details. And we're going to review a strategy that we gave you earlier to try and help us with that. So let's continue with Chapter 1, Wilma's childhood. Wilma Rudolph was born on June 23, 1940 in Tennessee. As a child, Wilma was often sick. She caught the measles and the chicken pox. Her parents didn't have money for a doctor, but Wilma was lucky because her family took good care of her. Sounds like a nice family. When Wilma was 4, she got a disease called polio. Polio made thousands of people sick. They suffered greatly. Some could no longer walk. Having polio meant Wilma couldn't use her left leg at all. In the United States at that time, segregation was the law. Black people could not use the same hospitals as white people. The closest hospital for African Americans was far away from Wilma's house. Wilma and her mother took the long bus ride there every week for the treatment Wilma needed to get well. I can't imagine. Polio vaccine. Today, most babies get a polio vaccine, a medicine that prevents polio. Polio was virtually eliminated from the United States by 1979. I'm pretty sure eliminated means I've been eliminated from a game, so they must have gotten rid of polio by 1979. One day the doctors said that Wilma would never walk again. Her mother flinched when she heard this. She said that Wilma would walk. Years later, Wilma was asked about this. She said, "I decided to believe my mother." Wilma worked hard doing exercises to make her legs strong and flexible. Finally, she could walk with a brace on her leg, but she still couldn't run and play with the other children. So she worked even harder to make herself well. So I'm going to go ahead and take my journal, and I'm going to use the same questions. So we had the W's, the where, when, who, what, why, and how. And I'm just going to jot down some notes from what I remember when I read my story. And remember, I can always go back to the text as well if you have that in front of you. So I'm going to start with the where. So in the first paragraph, it tells me that she was born in Tennessee. So I know that it was in Tennessee. And the when, I know she was born in 1940, but it also tells me that she was in the Olympics at 1960. So I'm going to use that time frame. Now my who, that one's easy. Who's the story about? That's right. It is about Wilma Rudolph. So what was it that the author was trying to tell me? So she was a sick child and told she could never walk. Now, I think the why and the how might be a little bit backwards in this case, because I know for a fact, did she walk again? She walked with a brace. And I think the why, her mom. Her mom believed in her. So again, it took place in Tennessee between 1940 and 1960. It was about Wilma Rudolph, and I know that it's telling me that she was a sick child and told she would never walk again. She did, though, with a brace, and the why is her mom. Her mom believed in her. Now, another thing that I usually do when I'm trying to put together my retell is I think about my top 10 words, which, to be honest, this is pretty close to what I would do as well, but top 10 words. And if you were going to tell somebody about this story, what would those 10 words be that you would have to include? Obviously, I'd have to have Wilma Rudolph if I was going to retell this story, because otherwise, how are they going to know who it's about? Okay? So what I can do now is I can actually take my thoughts and my ideas that I wrote down here, and I can actually put it into a complete sentences. So if I were going to write my retell in complete sentences, I would probably say that Wilma Rudolph was born in Tennessee in the 1940s. She was told because she was a sick little girl that she would never walk again. But her mother believed in her, and she worked hard to be able to walk with a brace. So let's see. Wilma Rudolph was born in Tennessee in the 1940s. She was told because she was a sick little girl that she would never walk again. But her mother believed in her, and she worked hard to be able to walk with a brace. Now, I was able to put that together in just a few sentences. So I took the most important parts, which I got from my where, when, who, what, why, and how, and I was able to give a quick retell with the most important parts of my story. So there is Retelling with Nonfiction, and now it's your turn to practice.